One of the questions that I have received the very most over the years is, what are mankind's biggest strengths and biggest weaknesses? I'm going to answer that question for you today, with the hopes that when people gain this awareness, they're going to take ownership of what needs to be appreciated and amplified and what needs to be changed. The way that we're going to go about doing this is that I'm going to tell you the top 3 negative traits, i.e. weaknesses, and the top 3 positive traits, i.e. strengths, for humans, therefore mankind. If a person were to disidentify from mankind enough to be able to objectively look at it from the outside, what they would find is that the top negative traits, those dominant weaknesses within people, are as follows. 1. Negative manifestations of the ego, self-concept. Mankind has developed a self-concept, a sense of themselves as separate from everything else in existence. We often call this an ego. A self-concept is an idea of the self that is constructed from the beliefs that a person holds about themselves and from their environment, including the responses of others. Contrary to popular thought, the ego is not something to be gotten rid of. It is something to be owned and integrated. It is in fact a beneficial tool for awareness and awakening. For lack of a better way of putting it, there is such a thing as a healthy state of ego and an unhealthy state of ego, but humans definitely are a perfect example of unhealthy ego. Human beings fall prey to all of the negative manifestations of the ego. For example, they fall prey to the perception that they are completely separate from everyone and everything else. This perception of the self as separate causes a state of disconnection, causes a state of loneliness. You know, there is a huge problem if we are on this planet with about 8 billion people and almost everyone feels alone. Some other negative manifestations of the ego include, but are not limited to, only being concerned with one's own best interests, unhealthy identification, control, manipulation, unhealthy pursuit and use of power, unhealthy pursuit and engagement with pleasure/desire, unworkability and the refusal to change, seeking and creating conflict, denial, fear, greed, illusion, avoidance, negative competition, envy, superiority and inferiority, dysfunctional patterns, dysfunctional relationships, fear of death, survival focus, and ironically, lack of self-awareness. To understand more about this, you can watch my video titled Self-Concept, the Enemy of Awakening. 2. Narcissism, and with it, the failure to create healthy relationships and symbiotic win-win scenarios. The term narcissism, in the way that we are using it today, means to perceive oneself as separate from everything that is other, and in the perception of that separateness, to perceive one's best interest as being divisible from the best interests of anything that is other. Therefore, the capacity to act in one's own best interests, regardless of the negative impact on anything other. To put it mildly, mankind is currently in a severe state of narcissism. You see this in their relationships with each other. You see this in their relationships with the entire system that they themselves are a part of. People have wildly dysfunctional relationships with each other. In fact, dysfunctional relationship is the norm, not the exception. People play zero-sum games, which means they have an I win, you lose approach to their relationships with all things, and they believe erroneously that there is no consequence for this. Because of this narcissism, the single biggest threat to mankind is not some other external threat. It is other people. Relational trauma is by far the biggest source of suffering for people on this planet. Now that we've said that, by far the single biggest cause of suffering for many species on Earth is, in fact, humans. Now, here's sort of a harsh reality check. It's pretty common when you have something that is causing you extreme amounts of pain to want that something to vanish. So what we find from the subjective viewpoint is that there are many, a great many species on Earth who are essentially broadcasting this desire for humanity to vanish. It's a pretty crap relationship we've built, I'd say. To hit you with a very harsh reality check, this is the harshest reality check that you will get in this video. A cancer cell behaves narcissistically within the system because a cancer cell is no longer responding to the signals of anything around it. It's essentially going rogue and just doing everything on its own, and despite the impact on the rest of the system. Oh, by the way, when a cancer cell does this, and more of them do this, then it leads to death. This extreme state of narcissism that humankind is stuck in, to generalize, makes it so that the human being, humanity at large especially, behaves kind of like a cancer cell within the greater system of this world and of this universe. It's going rogue. It's doing its own thing despite the best interests of the overall system. And this leads to the potential extinction of mankind. Mankind is destroying each other. They are also destroying the very system upon which they depend. If you need proof of this narcissism, look no further than the hurt in your own life. Look no further than the never-ending list of wars throughout history and even now. Look no further than the practice of interspecies slavery that is all around you, only most people call them pets and livestock. Look no further than businesses caring more about financial gain than the actual well-being of those who they are supposed to serve. Look no further than the destruction of the environment. Look no further than the agenda of the media and its impacts on the collective mind. Look no further than how hard it is, once you have become conscious of all of this, to live in a way that does not add to suffering on this planet. Chances are you feel as if the entire society is set up to perpetuate pain. The manifestations of this narcissism are all around you, causing you suffering on a daily basis. 3, lack of awareness, especially self-awareness. Mankind is a very complex species. Mankind is endowed with an undeniable level of intellect, but that intellect is not often coupled with awareness. Instead, it is coupled with ignorance. Mankind lacks information and knowledge and awareness that is crucial. They especially lack awareness of themselves, much of which is due to the human ego. This is why humanity can do things like create weapons, having absolutely no awareness when they make those weapons of what the impact of them will be on the overall system and ultimately themselves as well. This is why a human being can invent a way to make farming uber productive, but deplete the very soil upon which their life depends, to the degree that it's not even certain whether there will be food for humanity in the future. Humanity can do amazing things, but often without seeing any of the ripple effect of what it is that they are doing. The human ego prevents people from seeing anything bad or anything wrong about themselves. Now, this lack of awareness is quite dangerous, and I can prove it to you now. A great many of you who are watching this video are probably agreeing with my assessment on humanity. The thing is, you've divorced yourself from it. Now, humanity is made up of individuals. So the question is, if everyone who's watching this video is like, you're right, people are that way, to what degree are we recognizing these traits in ourselves? Essentially, you may be a certain way without even realizing that you're a certain way, and this gives rise to all kinds of hypocrisy within the human race. In this vein of lacking awareness, people severely lack awareness of what is not working and what is a problem, often thinking that they are working and are not a problem, therefore defending the problem. What do they say? Oh, you can't fix what you don't know is broken. People normalize and justify and maintain what isn't working, succumbing to complete ignorance that it is working. If you need further proof of this, look no further than the coping mechanisms that people maintain, despite the destruction to their own lives. Look no further than all the dysfunction in relationships. Look no further than the way people parent. Look no further than the lack of empathy and lack of change people display on account of how unaware they are of what the experience is like on the other side. Look no further than people eating what they eat today and then being confused about why they're growing increasingly more and more unhealthy. Look no further than the disease-based model of medicine. Look no further than science claiming that things of a spiritual nature do not actually exist on account of not being able to prove it. Look at people behaving in ways that create the very problem that they feel a victim to. What all this adds up to is the reality that human beings create massive amounts of pain, a huge degree of suffering for themselves and for everything else that is a part of this system. And what's worse, most people don't even realize it. What's even worse, most people are defending the very thing that's bringing about their own demise, as well as the demise of others. And now perhaps you understand why every spiritual teacher throughout history has taught what they have taught. Now let's switch our focus from negative to positive. If you were to disidentify with mankind far enough to be able to objectively look at it, the top 3 positives and therefore strengths of people and therefore mankind are as follows. 1. Creator nature, the ability to bring forth and actualize new thought. People, more so than any other species on Earth, are creators. They have tapped into and have become manifestations of Source's creator nature. Therefore, they can conceptualize what is not yet. Not only that, they bring it into physical manifestation. Because of this, humans are truly inventive and innovative. They are endlessly creative. They have used this creator nature to compensate for their shortcomings in ways that are advantageous for them. And this creator nature makes them future-oriented in such a beautiful way. People are focused on what could be and on bringing forth what could be into existence. One of the best ways to conceptualize of this strength is to imagine another species, say a crocodile, something that was around for millions of years. And if you watch the life of a crocodile, not much has changed over those millions of years. This is not the case with a human. If you look at people over the course of human history, so much has changed in the life of a human because of what the human themselves creates. In fact, to be honest with you, human beings are so good at creating, they have a hard time biologically keeping up with it. People create rich stories. They create tools and strategies. They mold the earth and everything in it to suit themselves. It is this trait that enabled them to farm instead of to gather, to tame animals so as to ride them, to craft clothing and move into new environments on Earth, to build more and more complex structures to withstand the elements, and make it so that they no longer have any true predators, to create art, to invent ways that despite possessing no wings, they could fly, to create ways to scientifically understand the world that they live in. And the list goes on and on. 2. The individuality from which free will arises and from which a person chooses his or her own meaning in life. Many of us are familiar with the story of William Wallace. The story was immortalized in the movie Braveheart. He was a national hero who fought for his country's independence from England. What we see in this character is the power to exercise his free will to make a choice for what personally mattered most to him, regardless of what other people were doing and regardless of the pressure that was put on him to conform. With the power of his free will, he chose meaning for his life, and it was something that mattered enough to die for. The reality is that this character trait is not something that's reserved for the rare individual within humanity. This character trait is present within all people. Some people have simply accessed it to a deeper level than others. The capacity for self-concept and self-awareness brings a powerful degree of individuality into the picture for a physical human. People are imbued with a powerful sense of choice, and therefore they can exercise their free will to make that choice. Not only that, they can exercise their free will to make a choice regardless of what other people are doing or not doing. Having this individuality, including the personal choice, brings with it the truth that a person chooses what has importance and meaning for themselves. This can lead a person beyond the simple cycle of pleasure-seeking and pain avoidance. It can lead them to the truth that some things have more meaning than one's own survival. And with that comes great bravery and also great power. It makes one person truly capable of greatness. It makes one person capable of changing the collective. Some of you have heard about this thing called the 100th monkey, where a new behavior or a new skill spreads from one or a few individuals to the entire collective. That phenomena is dependent upon this strength. this strength is also part of what makes people so incredibly complicated. To understand what I mean, let's look at humanity through the eyes of an elk. Through the eyes of an elk, if you're watching people, one person may be trying to hunt and kill you. Another person may be putting their own life on the line, trying to defend you from that other person, and would be less likely to kill you and more likely to sit there and stare at you in awe for a half an hour straight. So what's the truth about humans? It depends on the individual. There are so many examples of people who are able to positively alter their own life and also the lives of others because of their capacity to stand squarely in their personal truth and use their free will to make a choice for what they felt was important and meaningful, no matter what other people were doing or not doing. In fact, you could say that every great social change throughout history has been dependent on this strength. 3. Curiosity, the quest to understand, learn, find the truth, gain knowledge, and find meaning. People are so curious, it is absolutely precious. It is as precious as it is deeply commendable. It has been said that curiosity is the engine of achievement, and it definitely is true when it comes to people. It is curiosity that has led people to the knowledge that has enabled them to bring about their various creations as well as to achieve what they have set out to achieve. Curiosity accounts for a great deal of the human intellect. This insatiable curiosity causes people to expand and therefore facilitates so much universal expansion. You may actually be able to go so far as to say that curiosity is the essence of human existence on Earth. People don't just exist in the universe. They strive to comprehend the universe that they live in. They want to know, they want to understand, they have a thirst for learning, and people have an innate drive to find meaning. People seek to find meaning in everything that is and everything that happens, and when they can't find that meaning, they invent it. They simply come up with it themselves and ascribe it to whatever is or whatever has happened. Human beings truly have the capacity to extract the very most out of their life experience because of this curiosity and this zest for learning. And when somebody is this intent on finding things out, the universe has a lovely little way of revealing all of its mysteries to you. Great learners also always end up teaching others what they have learned. In this way, the collective mind of mankind keeps growing and growing and growing. With all that being said, we're going to end on this note. It is truly accurate what Einstein said, that a mind that is open to a new idea never returns to its original size. Have a good week. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and consider sharing this video with your friends. You can also click on the bell icon to be notified of the next time that I post a video. I want to thank you personally for the bravery that you have to step into awareness. I'll see you in the next video.